All right, so I've had my 2021 Revel now for coming up on 5 years, and it's been great. One of the things I really like about it is the diesel electric heater by Timberline, and it's been amazing in cold weather. It On or off the grid, this thing can produce a lot of heat. It's been very reliable, but last weekend I got home from camp and I noticed a little wet spot under my van. I was hoping it was just, condensation dripping off maybe the running boards, but no, it's coming from the furnace, which is mounted underneath the van. You're looking at it right now. This is the Elwell Timberline heating furnace, and it's been dripping antifreeze for days. I have 1,300 hours on this heater, so I'm not surprised it might need some service. I didn't really know where I could get support. I jumped on Google. Actually, the best resource I found was Jonathan Brown on the Revel 4x4 Facebook group. Did a detailed breakdown on what it takes to rebuild one of these things. So I figured I'd give it a shot. Put it up on the leveling blocks on driver's side, give me a little more room. And basically you're going to get under there. What you need to do is disconnect 3 different electrical connections that are tied to the furnace. You need to disconnect the air intake, the exhaust, 2 antifreeze hoses that are connected to it, and the diesel fuel source. So you're going to need a 10 millimeter wrench, some pliers, and just get in there and get after it. Removing the exhaust at this point, and the exhaust is attached to the furnace itself. It's also attached to the bracket that mounts it to the van. Both of those, I think, are 10 millimeter. Get those knocked off. And then screwdriver is going to get the air intake hose removed. The 2 antifreeze hose connections, they're a little more trouble. Well, here they are. They are dripping right now. I've removed them. They're on the top there. They have a hose clamp plus spring clamps. And the GoPro fell over when I was removing it. I'm removing the diesel fuel line right now, the clamp, getting that slipped up. And that's really hard to remove. It's frozen on there. And I think I managed to knock the GoPro over. Yep, again. So you get the idea. Now you've got 2 fasteners that hold the whole furnace onto the Sprinter frame. 9/16 wrench or socket set. And I was surprised how loose these were. I mean, they weren't finger tight, but they weren't much better than that. You could slide this thing around and move it. So just a word of caution. I ended up using thread locker on everything after this with all the miles I put on it. So we've got it off. You can see the mounting studs there. And now it's time to go after rebuilding this thing. Let's get it on a bench. You can see I've put some tape over the fuel inlet, that yellow tape. I just didn't want crap getting in there and fouling the igniter or anything. Now we're going to remove the mounting bracket, 2 10 millimeter fasteners to remove that, get that bracket off. And I was really surprised at the amount of corrosion, rust that's on everything. They mount this right behind the driver's side tire. And, if you're driving in snow and slush where the glycol and salt, it's corrosion. 3 fasteners now hold the blower assembly on. You've got a Phillips that I just removed, and now 2 Torx T25 fasteners that come off. Going to pull this blower assembly off. You're going to be careful. There are 2 O-rings under this that mount between the 2 pieces. And if you're going to reuse them, which you can, you just want to make sure you don't lose them. Set the blower assembly aside. And we're going to pull those out of they have little grooves that are that hold them in place. Get those, set them aside. Now you need to remove this plate. It's held on with 8 Torx fasteners. There's a plate on the opposite side as well, but when I talked to the tech support guys at Elwell, they said this side is the one that fails. This is where it leaks. So I took their word for it. I'm only removing the one plate. Get it off. Now you can see there's the original. It's basically an O-ring that's in a groove. It's just not a round O-ring, and it recesses in. That's your gasket. Now, the discoloration you see on the aluminum, I suspect that's where it's been leaking. You're going to want to clean that up. Scotch-Brite, sandpaper, wire brush. Remove the gasket from that little groove. And you're going to want to use a lot of brake cleaner here to just clean everything up. Brake cleaner leaves no residue. It's not going to contaminate that antifreeze system. Clean out that groove. We're looking pretty good right now. There's the old O-rings and gasket. I ended up contacting Elwell and getting the rebuild kit. Comes with enough gaskets to rebuild the whole thing, down to the igniter, everything, if you want to completely go through it. I just wanted to get back online. So installing that new gasket in the groove, it's a little tricky because it's just not wanting to set flush into that recess point, but you'll get there. Just set that in, get it seated. Now you're going to want to use some high temperature black RTV gasket maker. And you're just going to, and in addition, here's the thread locker I use, the medium thread locker. But you're going to put a bead on the outside of that gasket point. Hopefully this will ensure some redundancy if we have vibration and heat and expansion and contraction. This will give it a fighting chance. Putting the fasteners back on, rather than just start at one side and just tighten them all the way around, I just alternated, just kind of like, doing mounting a tire. RTV is going to squeeze out. That's normal. You're just going to clean that up after you get it tightened down. Don't go crazy tightening these down. You will strip it out. These are aluminum castings, so just nice and snug. Get that done. Put your O-rings in the two openings. Gently set the blower assembly back in place. Going to want to replace the 3 fasteners. And tighten those up. And again, don't go crazy. No power tools at this point. Just everything hand tight, nice and snug. Thread locker is your friend. Double check those O-rings. You can see they're nice and seated. They're showing uniformity. They're not like hung up or, got pushed in. I actually used some rust neutralizer and repainted the bracket. And I also did a bunch of the fasteners. If I had more time, I would have gone to Home Depot and gotten all new stainless hardware, but I just neutralized everything, repainted it, putting the bracket back on. All right, now it's time to get this thing back in place. You're going to hang it on the stud mounts. There we go. Those 2 nuts that hold it to the frame, you're going to put those on first. And again, I used thread locker because these were loose, so I recommend it. Get those tightened up, and basically everything at this point is a reverse of what you did to get here. I'm slipping the diesel fuel line back on there right now. Haven't got the clamp on, but just didn't want to have dirt getting into that inlet. And we're just going through and getting things tightened up. Still just getting the furnace mounted. Now we're doing the electrical 3 connections, get those all tucked away and sorted out. Going to install the exhaust clamp that holds it to the frame. We got that on. We've got both antifreezes hooked up, 2 clamps there, the hose clamp and the spring clamps. All the electricals hooked up, the air inlets hooked up, exhaust. Feeling like we got this thing handled. Got the diesel line hooked up with the clamp, tight, secure. Now it's time to find out if we actually accomplished anything here. Time to refill the antifreeze. We're using premix 50/50, so you don't have to add water. And I think it takes about 2 gallons or just under that. Fill the tank up till it's about an inch from the very top. And it's been 5 years, so, changing out the antifreeze probably wasn't a bad idea. Just really wasn't the way I wanted to do it. Put the cap back on. We're not going to start the furnace. We're going to go into the menu here and just turn on the circulating pump. There's an option to just do a pump override for 10 minutes. It's not going to turn on the heating element or the furnace. You can just hear it gurgling, and hopefully that's going to work out any bubbles in the air lines or things like that. So you got 10 minutes to kill. Went back in the house. This is our new cat, Holly. She's, I think, about 7 months old, and she's a sweetie. Rescue. She looks, real tough here trying to bite, but she is just a sweetheart. And we've got a couple minutes here before we have to go back out, before she tries to eat my hand. But she's an awesome cat. All right, we're back to work here. Antifreeze level looks good. We're going to shut everything up. We're going to start this thing up and see if I was worried about the electrical connections and the igniter and shaking everything up and all that, but turned it on like I normally did, made all the normal sounds. Feeling pretty good at this point. Go outside, that familiar smell of diesel, kerosene kind of smell, man, I love that. Notice I have a little bit of an exhaust leak. I just need to retighten the clamp that mounts it to the furnace. But right now, feeling pretty good about things. She's in operation. She's running. I'm not seeing any leaks. Feeling pretty good about this. I did get a quote for a new furnace. If I didn't want to rebuild it, they're over $900. So, I'm feeling like we might have saved some money here. Everything's up to temperature. She's pushing heat through all the openings, hot water, everything's good. So, man, we did it. Hope this helps. No need to thumbs up. I don't need any of that. I just hope this was interesting, and thank you for watching. Have an awesome day.